Good morning and welcome along to AardvarkJoke episode 10. The big 1-0, the 1-0. I'm joined this week as... I know I didn't think we'd make it this far. I'm joined this week, as is normally the case, by Mr. Peterson. Mr. Peterson, how are you? What have you been up to this week?
Hello, Ed. I'm very well, thank you very much. This week, I've just been mixing various colours of paint just to see what happens.
And the topic we're going to be discussing this week is one that is going to be slightly meta. I don't know if that's appropriate for a 10th episode anniversary special. Not really the anniversary or anything, other than it's a big day in the decimal system, not a big day in the binary system.
It wouldn't be a big day if we were using base 8.
No, it wouldn't. There was one news story I was tempted to go for this week, but unfortunately it was quite short. So the actual news article's headline is Denmark frees suspected pirates in dinghy in Gulf of Guinea. Fair enough, totally sensible title. When you get the shortened title on the homepage of the news service I was using, the homepage was Denmark releases pirates in middle of sea. I was just like, hang on, that is a tacit admission. They just in 2022 they've made some pirates walk the plank. What do you do? Oh, just release them in the middle of the sea. I think there might be laws against this these days. I'm not sure you should put that on a major international news website and advertise it. There's probably some laws you've contravened. But anyway, the one we're going for this week...
What are the Danes doing in the Gulf of Guinea? But that's not the point. That's the
thing out of the sea, isn't it? It like connects most places. Obviously not landlocked or double landlocked countries, but apart from Switzerland, which is landlocked and you can get to by the rivers.
Yeah, good point. But Denmark isn't landlocked, so they're just in the sea.
Yeah, they've probably got loads of boats as a country. But anyway, the one we want to discuss this week, which is slightly better, is about the NHS, specifically in Bristol, prescribing comedians to help patients struggling with trauma. Now, there's a number of issues I have with this. Number one, this might be the best idea ever, because it means we can then be employed as professional comedians. And obviously, if you get...
I would like to say that my role is actually amateur sidekick.
That's true, or as writer. But ultimately, being a professional at something just means you get paid to do it. So even if I am on minimum wage, working for the NHS as a comedian, I make me a professional, which I think would be a big step forward for me.
And you'd be a key worker as well, because you work the NHS.
It would. One of my concerns is that, without getting too political, the sort of some of the NHS stuff is obviously run by the NHS, and then sometimes it's like large contracts go to G4S and all that sort of stuff. So what if actually the comedian bit was outsourced to, say, Serco, and then actually you were working for the NHS?
I thought you were more worried about being outsourced to big comedy and you weren't going to get a look at.
Well, maybe that there's a lot of issues here.
You're saying it would be outsourced to the Live at the Apollo cartel, and if you don't know that secret handshake, you're not being allowed in.
Yeah, quite possibly. If you don't, you haven't got the right opinions on things. But one of my main concerns was that I'm not a doctor. I can't talk as an expert about what the NHS should and shouldn't be doing. But I'm pretty confident most of its employees are meant to be medically qualified. At no point, have I ever thought, well, I've been sat in a hospital bed with an IV drip in my arm, and I've gone, I really wish a comedian would turn up right now and witter on with some irritating chat. Partially because the general trend, I think, with a lot of sort of amateur and comedians in general, is you'll be there thinking, right, I need to talk to a professional therapist about my trauma. And they'll be going, oh, that's great, but let me talk about mine, because that's broadly how a lot of stand-up comedy works. So it'll be a very sinister game of one-upmanship, which in a way might make people think that their trauma isn't quite as bad as it was. Maybe that helps people, maybe it won't.
Or do you reckon it's just a full circle that the comedians are also trauma patients, and it's actually just a group of, they're all just comedian trauma patients, just all gigging at each other.
It's the ultimate pyramid scheme. Because of my trauma, I've been struggling at work and haven't been able to hold down a job. Fortunately, the NHS is now employing people as amateur comedians to talk about trauma, which I can now do. And suddenly there's just tens of thousands of amateur comedians wandering the halls of hospitals telling people some pretty ropey opening jokes.
Because and the other problem I think I can see about this is that you're not going to get the best comedians. Like doctors, you're going to get the best ones at the NHS. Nurses, you're going to get the best ones at the NHS. Comedians, there are bigger gigs, I'm going to say, than a hospital ward.
I don't know, but then some hospitals in London are massive, sort of, several thousand people. That's quite a big gig. But then I guess it's sort of one-on-one, isn't it? So
you're not unless you're gigging on the PA system.
Like hospital radio.
Well, no, because people can turn off hospital radio. If you go full on PA system, then you're gigging everywhere. But then you're gigging to people that aren't trauma patients as well. And then that's either you've got people who,
Yeah. Also, hospitals, quite hard surfaces because they're easy to clean. So if you've got your little PA system, it's going to echo down the corridors. So maybe by the time the comedian gets to you, you're like, oh, I heard this set 45 minutes ago when you're in room 5. So the requirement for soft furnishing is going to go up. That's a significant cost. I'll take your point about it's quite easy to make sort of public sector strikes and jokes about that. What would comedians strike over? Also, at what point would say Unite or someone be thinking, right, there's a serious issue with, I don't know, railway workers. There's an issue with safety. So we're going to go on strike. And then the head of the union gets a phone call. Oh, good news. We comedians will be going on a sympathy strike with you as well. At which point the head of railways probably goes, you're all right, mate. Just get back to work, whatever you claim is work. We really don't need you on the picket line.
But if there is some sort of big comedian strike, would you reckon also? Do you reckon like, you know how there's like a rivalry between people who do similar sort of jobs and everything?
Well, like dentists and doctors.
Like dentists, doctors. Oh, I've watched Scrubs. Doctors and surgeons. Do you reckon there's going to be a rivalry between trauma comedians and regular comedians? And
possibly. I was thinking people who have got similar level jobs, so trauma comedians and the unemployed.
Or would you reckon there's also going to be the problem that there's going to be then rivalry between trauma one-liners, trauma story comedians, I don't know, other types of comedians?
That's a very good point. That's a niche subcategory. Some sort
of massive turf war that's actually that could end up violent and then actually just cause more people in A&E.
But they are in the right place, obviously, for violence, so in a hospital, so it couldn't be more appropriate. They get seen to very quickly. I think we've covered a lot of topics there. I think there's quite a lot in this. I particularly like the idea that it's just a self-fulfilling pyramid scheme of people being employed to talk about their own job, because that's what comedians normally do anyway. Here's a bad thing that happened in my life. Let me tell it to some strangers and try and make them laugh. And
I think I like the idea of unionising as well. And I don't know whether you want to, throw yourself in as a professional comedian, stand up as well within the joke.
Well, that's my big concern really with all of this, is that if someone heckles me with, you wouldn't be employed, there's pretty much no comeback to that. That is an absolute death blow on stage. So it is a potentially risky topic, but I think there's enough.
Why don't you cut that off then and throw yourself in and make the punchline something along the lines of, and anyway, I handed my CV in.
That's a very good point. Yeah. I think that is the finishing point. So I handed my CV.
You're going to enter your.
I will enter the joke writing area now.
37 hours and 4 minutes later.
And we're back. You may have seen this in the news. The NHS in Bristol is going to be hiring comedians to help people with trauma. Hopefully not those with a trauma being attacked by a clown. But they're going to be hiring them and letting them roam free in their hospitals. My worry is that most amateur comedians, I assume amateur, I don't know if the NHS has got the budget to get Dave Chappelle on 24-hour shifts, but most amateur comedians, all they generally do is talk about their own negative life experiences whenever they're doing their sets, which is just going to lead to a very weird series of one-upmanship where some patient with critical problems who really needs help is going to say something terrible, and the comedian will simply respond with, yes, but what happened to me was worse this one time. And it's not going to be a very self-fulfilling, it's not going to be a very productive thing. My second concern is a complete lack of medical training. But my third is that there's going to be there might be people out there who with trauma struggle to hold down a job. That's not a nice thing. That's a terrible place to be. But most people, are presumably as sentient human beings, going to realise that, oh, hang on a minute, I struggle to hold down a job under normal circumstances, but I could get paid by the NHS to talk about my trauma with other people with trauma, thus making it the world's biggest circular pyramid scheme, and not really helping anyone other than allowing hospitals to be full of hordes of amateur comedians wandering the halls like zombies. And my real concern with this is that that's going to lead to some absolutely barrel-scraping comedy, a race to the bottom like we've never known, and they'll be employing absolutely anyone. So I've handed my CV in. Mr. Peterson, anything to add to Aardvark Joke episode 10?
I have nothing I would like to add for Aardvark Joke episode 10. Thank you very much for your concern.
Thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you again next week. Bye for now.